Hi, this is Fred Greene, and I'm supporting Movember. This is not how I usually look. My wife would want me to say that. I'm about to give a conversation to the media management class here at San Francisco State University. Dina and I met at the San Francisco State Hall of Fame dinner a couple weeks ago because a friend of mine, a classmate of mine, Stephen Miller, was being inducted to the San Francisco State Hall of Fame, and that's I will get to your answer on that. Steve's speech, which is online now, and it's a great speech, and he's talking about finding your passion, finding what works for you, and just go with it, right? And it's something that I've always believed in, but Steve was a kid, he was a young musician, and he always knew he wanted to be a record producer. How successful he was going to be, he didn't know, but that's what he wanted to do. When I was 9 years old, I decided I wanted to be a disc jockey. And so I've always had that drive and that passion to go with that. If you're risk averse, you probably don't want to go into something on your own, you know, if it scares you. And I would never advise anybody to leave school and go right into being on your own. I'm a big believer that the only way you can think out of the box is by working in the box. How can you work out of the box if you don't understand what the box is? If you've never been part of a corporate culture of some sort, right? You never had to listen to somebody tell you to do things and you go, that's really stupid. That doesn't matter what you think. I've told you what to do. Go do it. You've got to understand that part of it if you want to go out and do things on your own, because then you can change it. Find your passion, do what you love, and don't worry about the money. The money will follow. Be happy with what you do. Don't worry about just making money. Do what you want, and that will make you happy, and the money will happen too. So to me, content is king. It always is. And if I have to, like, I was asked somebody, people ask me, can I be on your show? Sure. You know, I'm always looking for content. So, but it was somebody who's starting the United States Disabled Golf Association. And he has cerebral palsy, but he plays golf. And he wanted me to interview him about getting volunteers and getting people to play for the USDGA. And in my conversation with him, if it was video, it would have been fine. But audio with someone with cerebral palsy is really hard to maintain the conversation and keep it going. And I said to him, I said, it's not going to do you any justice if I put you on audio. And he said he was afraid that it would be the case. And I said, how about if I just get all your notes and I'll put a show out and we'll promote it. So sometimes I have to, you know, cut that back. But to me, content is king. But for this class, cash is king. You know, I had all the ambition in the world. I knew what I wanted to do, and I asked him, why aren't you going to take this? And he taught me one of the biggest lessons of my professional life. He said, I love radio too much to do it every day. Whoa. Because then it turns into a job. When I was working in sports, I would get college students, high school students coming up to me all the time going, God, I love baseball. How do I get a job in baseball? Let me ask you a question. Do you love baseball? Do you love music? Then be careful about working in it. Because if you love it and you go to work in it, it becomes a job. And when it becomes a job, you want to turn it off at the end of the day. Don't be an asshole. Because you can be really good at what you do, and if you're a jerk about it, you ain't going to get hired back. And that is what's going to be remembered. Okay? So, arrogance, I'm not saying you're arrogant, but arrogance is part of that. Knowing you're the best. It doesn't always fly. You know? Oh, people all the time, oh, God, working for yourself, you get to, you know, make your own schedule, that's got to be great. I said, yeah. When you work for yourself, all you have to do is decide which 12 hours a day you're going to work. You know? Having a job, there's benefits to that, like a regular paycheck and health insurance. Jack of all trades and a master of none, right? There's nothing really wrong with that. The more you know about, you know, as many things as possible, the more valuable you become to anybody. Whether you're a sports announcer, don't just do play-by-play, tell me stories, right? Whether you're a recording engineer, don't just do, you know, heavy metal, headbang and rock. Know how to do it, you know. Imagine how valuable you would be if you had recorded a symphony and you came in to work with a 4-piece band, you know, that everybody's plugged in. You can add things and hear things that they can't because you have a broader perspective. But that doesn't stop you from listening to the music you love. If you love to listen to the kind of music that you love to listen to your music. If you want to be a really good engineer, do all kinds of music. Take that profession that you want to do. You can't be a specialist like a medical specialist. If you're going to be a recording engineer, be the best recording engineer, and it doesn't matter what kind of music. Know the tools of your trade. Know how to use them. Know how to work with people. Keep a smile on your face and your opinion to yourself. And then you will be well known for what you do. Right? So there's a couple ways that I make money on the podcast. One is sponsorships. When the economy was great, so were the sponsors. I started this in 2005. In 2008, I had a retailer that was sponsoring it. They hired me to do another podcast for them, to brand it for them. And I was doing another podcast 5 days a week that was interviews with different golf instructors, and they were paying me to do that and put them out on there. So I was doing 26 golf podcast episodes a month in 2008. Right? I was doing Golf Smarter once a week. I was doing Golf Better with Edwin Wants Golf twice a month, and I was doing the Golf Smarter Tips 5 days a week. I think 20 episodes out. And then the economy changed at the end of 2008. And just so happens with my brilliant business mind, all the contracts ended on December 31st. And nobody renewed. So now I wasn't making any money. I had realized that, so there's still some sponsors, but they're really hard to get now. Because now it's like, what are your numbers? What are your numbers? What are your numbers? Show me the metrics. What are your numbers? It's like, I know that if you type in Google golf podcast, we come up first. I know if you go on iTunes and type golf, we pop up first. So, you know, so I don't know what the numbers are. It's hard to tell. So in 2009, I went to this membership model. And it's like, okay, I had realized that there was a lot of value in the old episodes. I did evergreen content. Evergreen content means I wasn't doing news. It wasn't relevant to the date. It was, you know, episode number 1 was just as valid as episode number 400 because somebody can go back and listen to it and they'll get a nugget out of it. They'll get something of value out of it. So it was evergreen in nature. So there was value in the old episodes. So what I decided to do with the membership thing was, I'm only going to put out 4 or 5 episodes for free. If you want to go back in the archives, you want more, you're going to have to pay for it. Plus, I'm only going to do, for free, I'm only going to do an episode every other week. But if you're a member, you get an episode every single week. And mostly what you're going to get is part 2 of this conversation. I would do an hour-long conversation with somebody, and then cut it in half, cut it down to 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, and then say, but there's a whole hour there. And just this year, I went, you know what? Okay, so not everyone's going to join. I guess they're not going to do that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it, cut it down to 2 or 3 minutes, and say, okay, if you don't want to be a member, that's fine. But if you really want to hear this entire interview, it's available on our website for $1.99. So I started just trying to find different ways to connect with people, listening to what other people are doing, coming up with ideas.
How do you create business? How do you go out and find clients? You know,
Networking.
Okay.
Getting your name out there. Doing what you do well. Enjoying what you do. And then you'll do it well. Really important. See what it is that they want. They don't want to hear about what you do. They don't want to hear about your resume unless they ask. They want to know where's the value for them. It's always about what's in it for them. Know who your audience is. I'm going to go back to that. Who's your audience? What's in it for them? Whether you're pitching a job, you're pitching a gig, you know, it's all about, don't do what I do, which is just blah, 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 blah. Keep it succinct, tell them what they want to hear, not what you want to tell them. Because you may give up too much information that could hurt you. Tips for success. Number 1, gratitude. The attitude of gratitude. Don't take anything for granted. Appreciate every moment. And define success. Are we talking about financial success? Are we talking about life success?
We're talking about the magic combination of finding your passion and financial success.
Boy, if I could bottle that, I would be out selling it. It's all about the type of person you are. It really is. And what you give back. There was this phrase in the 60s, today is the first day of the rest of your life. Sorry, tomorrow you may be gone. So you better live like today is the last day of your life. Enjoy what you do. Have the attitude of gratitude. You cannot be miserable if you're grateful. Yeah, be yourself. Be authentic. Be honest. If you feel like you're making a sacrifice by putting on nice clothes to go for a job interview, you're not. The clothes are not who you are. You only get one chance at a first impression. Don't make them think about, don't distract them with things that could be a negative. Okay? Once you get the gig, once you get called back, you can change that. By that point, you can see what's going around, what's the culture of where you're going to have the conversation. If you're going, let's just make this a job interview, and you go in for a job interview, you keep your eyes open, you see what's going on, you see how people dress, you see what the culture's like. Then for your second job interview, you can dress it down a little bit. You can be more comfortable, make them feel more comfortable. But on the first job interview, don't, and it's hard. Today, okay, I'm dressed up. This is not how I go to work. I don't put on collared shirts. I don't wear sweaters. But I did wear jeans, and I did wear my Brandon Bell tennis shoes. But because I was considering, where am I going? Who's my audience? Well, if I came in a sports coat and slacks, and I wouldn't be authentic. That's not who I am, and I didn't want to represent myself to college students that way. As a Gator alum, it was my honor to speak to this class today, and I appreciate your time. And please, give a listen to the Golf Smarter podcast.